You are sitting alone right now. The screen is the only thing glowing in the room. For a moment, it feels perfectly fine to be by yourself. But go back to a time when you couldn't just flip on a light switch or scroll through a feed. When the sun went down and the air got cold, your existence became precarious. Being alone didn't feel like me time. It felt like terror. Because for 99% of human history, loneliness wasn't a mood. It was a death sentence waiting to happen. You might think that you're just bored right now, reading this on your phone in a quiet room. But deep in the wiring of your brain, there is a loud siren blaring that says the group is missing. And that noise isn't random anxiety or modern stress. It is an ancient alarm system designed to keep you alive in a world full of predators. When our ancestors walked the Pleistocene savannas, they were soft and slow compared to the lions and hyenas hunting them. They survived because they stayed together in a dense pack of eyes watching every shadow. To drift away from that circle meant you became prey. So your brain evolved to treat isolation with the same intensity as physical pain. If you broke your leg, it hurt enough to warn you to rest and heal. If you were cut off from the tribe, it hurt enough to make you run back toward other people faster than a cheetah can chase you. This is why your heart races when you walk into a room of strangers. Your body knows that outcasts don't get to have grandchildren. The biological imperative to bond was so strong that it literally reshaped our anatomy. You didn't just evolve big brains to build fires. You evolved massive brains to navigate the complex web of social relationships. A famous anthropologist named Robin Dunbar spent decades studying primates to figure out how this works. He discovered a hard limit on how many people we can actually be close with at one time. That number is roughly 150. Beyond that, your brain just stops registering the nuances of another human being's face or history. It becomes impossible to maintain trust or intimacy because the neural RAM required is simply too high. This constraint forced early humans to live in tight-knit bands where everyone knew everyone else's business. There was no such thing as privacy because there was no such thing as a private individual. Your thoughts were public property from the moment they formed, checked and corrected by the rest of the group. And the most powerful tool for maintaining this bond wasn't language or tools, it was grooming, picking lice off your brother's back. Wasn't just about hygiene in those days. It was a chemical exchange of survival. When you scratched someone else physically, both of your bodies released oxytocin and endorphins. This drug cocktail lowered your stress levels and forged a biological lock between you and another person. In the cave, grooming was the economy that kept the peace and kept the fire lit. If you weren't grooming, you weren't contributing to the social glue. And if you stopped being glued to the group, the alarms would start to sound in your head. Neuroscientist John Cacioppo spent his entire career studying what happens when that alarm breaks down permanently. He realized that loneliness triggers a state of hypervigilance in the brain called the threat detection system. When you feel lonely, your amygdala, the fear center, goes into overdrive. You start perceiving hostile faces and neutral expressions everywhere you go. Your body prepares for battle against enemies that aren't there, while ignoring the allies who are right next to you. This isn't a character flaw on your part. It is a survival program trying to force you back into the safety of the herd. But here's the strangest part of how our biology works regarding connection. We often think that being lonely means we don't have enough people around us. But Cacioppo found that the quality of your connection matters far more than the quantity. You can be surrounded by 1,000 people at a party and still feel like you're dying inside if those connections feel hollow. Your brain is scanning for genuine reciprocity, the signal that someone actually sees you and cares about your survival. Without that signal, the ancient part of your mind keeps pumping out cortisol, the stress hormone. Over time, this constant state of biological alertness eats away at your immune system. Studies show that chronically lonely people get sick more often and die younger than those who are socially integrated. Your body literally forgets how to fight off viruses because it expects a predator attack rather than a bacterial infection. So what did ancient humans actually do when they felt the sting of being left out? They didn't just sit in their caves sulking. They mobilized every social muscle they had to re-establish proximity immediately. They sought out eye contact. They shared food, which was the ultimate symbol of trust, because sharing your kill meant trusting not to be stabbed while you ate it. And most importantly, they engaged in communal rituals to reset the group cohesion. Fire was the original internet. Gathering around it wasn't just about warmth. It was a synchronized activity that dampened individual anxiety and amplified group belonging. The rhythmic sounds of drumming or chanting would synchronize their heartbeats. This physiological synchronization made the self feel smaller and the group feel larger. We have largely abandoned these deep rituals for modern substitutes that don't quite work. You might spend 3 hours on social media, liking strangers' photos, or scrolling through videos of people you will never meet. But your brain knows the difference between a notification and a presence. Digital text doesn't release oxytocin because there is no scent, no touch, and no shared breathing rhythm. It is like trying to feed a starving lion a piece of plastic that looks like meat. The visual cue is there, but the biological hunger remains untouched. This explains why you might feel more exhausted after a long day of texting and emailing than after a day of physical labor. Your brain is working overtime trying to bridge a gap that technology hasn't actually closed. We are living in an environment our biology was never designed for, one where we are constantly connected yet often profoundly isolated. The ancient mind expects a constant stream of subtle social feedback, glances, shifts in posture, the sounds of others moving nearby. Without that low-level hum of life, your nervous system assumes you are being stalked. So you feel the itch to reach out, even if you don't know why. You catch yourself staring at other groups with a desperate longing. This isn't weakness, it is proof that your ancestral software is running perfectly on modern hardware. You are meant for proximity. We tend to think of history as a march toward independence, where the goal was always to conquer nature and stand apart from it. But our evolutionary trajectory went in the opposite direction. Our brains got bigger specifically so we could tolerate living in larger, more complex social groups. We didn't conquer the world by being lone wolves, we conquered it by becoming the most hyper-social animal on the planet. Every time you felt awkward introducing yourself to a stranger, or every time you worried if you were saying the wrong thing at dinner, your ancient ancestors would be nodding in approval. Because that worry proves you are taking group cohesion seriously. It means you haven't gone native with a wild animal who doesn't care about social standing. The anxiety of connection is the price we pay for the greatest advantage we ever had. There is one final twist to this biological reality that changes how you should view your own solitude today. We often romanticize me time in the modern world as a luxury or a necessity for creativity. But deep down, if you spend too much time alone, your body will revolt. It might give you back pain or make you suddenly crave junk food because it is looking for a comfort dopamine hit to substitute for social safety. The ancient human didn't have the luxury of unplugging because the danger was always at the edge of their vision. You carry that same biological sensitivity with you everywhere you go. So when you walk into a room full of people and suddenly feel calmer, even if you don't talk to them, it isn't just politeness keeping everyone at ease. It is your nervous system realizing that the threat level has dropped. The eyes in the crowd are watching, not to kill you, but because they need to know where you are. And that gaze is what keeps the ancient fire burning in your chest. You are sitting alone now, staring at this text on a glowing screen. It feels safe here. It feels quiet here. But remember the feeling of safety you just described. Remember how good it felt to know that even though you were physically isolated, your mind could still reach out and connect with the person who created these words. That bridge is what saved our species. The silence around you isn't empty anymore. It is filled with the invisible threads of connection that tie you to your past and to your fellow humans everywhere. You are not alone in your solitude. You are just waiting for the next time you can hear their voices again.